Hello and welcome to Buckman's Model Mania. Today we're going to be working on stage 25 of the Batmobile, and probably we'll add stage 26 because stage 26 it's got some pretty significant parts, but it looks like they're going to go together really quick and make for a very short video. What it's got is frame parts for right here. I don't think it's enough to do a whole video on, but it isn't. But it does have to be done. So we will add it to the end of this video and we'll go from there. So here's the parts. We have some FM screws and some AM screws. Interesting, because I believe maybe it was an FM screw. I was thinking that the last tire went on with a different screw besides the FM. Let's just see. Okay, it is an FM screw. We've got the tire from last time. We've got the brake pieces, the Batmobile or Batman logo, the hubcap, the washer. They call it a gasket. I call it a washer because it's not rubber like a wash or like a gasket would be. Basically, it is to keep the tire in place. And the brake line. So let's turn the tire over and start building. First thing it has you do is uncoil the brake line. And then once the brake line is uncoiled, and it is actually, I think, quite a bit longer than it is. It's quite a bit longer, I believe, than the brake line from the left-hand side. You got a little pin right here this pipe is going to go on to. And Todd, Marvel Phoenix, would do the wire inside this. I've found that the wire makes it a little bit harder to bend it in place. Plus, I'm never going to look underneath here again and see where these brake lines run. But there's the brake line in place on the disc. Let me go ahead and move these parts out of the way, because what it has you do next is take this. Take the brake line. Actually, I can, like I mentioned in the video where I put the left tire on, I can now sit this like this. You can see that, maybe not. You can see the two pins there. Come on, stay in focus. Pin here and here. That's where this part of the brake is going to mount. Brake line is going to go to the inside. And then these detail parts, which you won't be able to see, will be on the outside towards the tire. I'll tell you right now, that stuff really exists. I've worked on brakes before, the drum brakes, and those parts are a royal pain in the behind to get straightened out, because first thing you got to do when you're doing that is there's a screw on there that automatically tightens as you use the brakes, self-adjusters, and you have to get the self-adjusters wound back in so that you can get the actual brake shoe off. Royal pain in the behind. So the next thing we do is you have on here, you've got those two holes right there. Two sockets. Sockets are going to go, come on, there we go. Sockets are going to go on here just like that. And you're going to take two of the AM screws. And since they are M screws, they are going into metal. You're going to take two of the AM screws, leave the third spare screw behind, dip them into the oil, and that is going, when you put the screws in, that's going to lock the brake drum to the tire, or to the wheel actually. Similar to what it actually does in a real car. Except there's a lot more to it in a real car. And modern cars have disc brakes at least in the front, if not all the way around. My Jeep has disc brakes front and rear. They just have a little bit better stopping power as far as I know. To my knowledge, they have better stopping power. Drum brakes, I think, self-adjust a little bit easier. Not positive. Don't know a whole lot about them. I've changed my brakes, but that's about it. Okay, so we tighten these down all the way, like that. And like I said, they're locked into place. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on the last one, which is I'm going to take the FM screw, which has a flange, on it. I'm going to dip it in the oil. And just to make it easier to get the tire on the wheel assembly, I'm going to go ahead and put the screw in without the tire on there, cutting the threads, which is what the oil's for, is to assist in cutting the threads, make it easier. And now I can just pop the wheel on there and it should thread on there really easy. So we're going to take the wheel, pop it in there. We're going to take what they call a gasket. Actually, I didn't mention this on the last video I did tire on. There's actually a rounded side and a flat side. That's the flat side. That's the rounded side. I put the rounded side toward the screw and the flat side toward the tire. And I'm going to just set this in here, drop it into place rather than fighting with it. Just like that. And tighten it all the way down. Ooh. Didn't do that on the other side. But once you tighten it all the way down, the wheel turns, and now your steering is working. You can see I've still got the Bat logo on there. Next thing we're going to do is install the hubcap. And it's just a friction fit, and it's on there now. And then we're going to push the Bat logo down on there. And it holds it in place, and the logo will spin with the tire. I saw a comment on Facebook today that somebody is trying to make those into spinners. That would be kind of cool. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but I'll watch and see if they're able to do it. So in stage 26, what we have is the middle frame, left middle and left rear frame, and some screws. So here's stage 26 parts. Let's go ahead and get them out of here. And while I'm thinking about it, set this up. Leave this sitting here for a second. I believe that was the license number that was on the Batmobile. I think. Not positive. I haven't gone back to the show and looked. But this license plate also came in this shipment. So let's get these parts out of here. And this is where the Batmobile is going to start getting too big for the camera to catch the whole thing at once. Go ahead and get these into the trash can that's under the desk. Open the book to the next page. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this tab right here, and we're going to join it up into those two screw holes right there. So it's going to sit on here like that. Come on, focus. Just like that. And that's going to be with 2 cm screws. Set the other screws off to the side. Dip one into the oil, knock it off into the screwdriver while doing that. Put it into the first hole, get it started. Get the other screw, dip it into the oil as well. Smack it on this tire and try and knock the screw off, but I didn't manage. Put that screw in there, tighten it down. Go ahead and pick this up and make sure that they're both very tight. That's one thing, when you tighten these screws, tighten them down, don't over tighten them. These parts will snap, the metal and the screws will snap. And it's difficult to get them back out if you do break them. So now we're going to pick up the car, and I always try to make the car mirror what's in the picture, so that it's easier to figure out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So now your frame, move this forward, put that there, bring the CM screws over here so I can see it. We're going to put in 2 CM screws, one here, one here. Get those out of here. There's one. In case you're wondering, I do keep these screws. I used to keep them in screw boxes. I've gotten lazy. I've ended up with multitudes of screw boxes full of screws that I don't have anything to do with. When I change the screw boxes, I throw the old screws away. There's nothing else I can do with them. Don't have any need for them. I have mentioned I can use them in a airplane model to put weight in those. That's about it. I'm not positive, but I think they're starting to standardize the screws. So this is going to go on here like this. That first part here, middle piece here is actually lining up to where I can get the screw threaded in there. Wouldn't it be funny if I was putting this thing on backwards? But I'm not. This rise here is where the rear wheels are going to go. So put this in here. And I mentioned a couple of videos ago how this was rocking and rolling a little bit, but that I couldn't get it to lock in place. Well, now, since I'm putting the frame on here, it will lock into place as well. That screw actually started cross-threading. Tighten this all the way down. Let's go ahead and use the bigger screwdriver to lock it in place. Make sure everything is tight. And so now, this is now very solid. I believe, let me double check. Yeah, that, my friends, is all there is to do in stages 25 and 26. We're actually starting to look like a chassis. And if you notice, this is not this is a full frame, not like some cars that we've done have the, I want to say the DeLorean had sort of a unibody frame, had a bottom, but it didn't have a frame, if I remember right. It's been about 3 years since I finished the DeLorean. I don't remember for sure. I know the bus had a frame, the Ecto had a frame. So it's kind of nice when they have a full-on frame like this. Gives you something to actually build before you put the chassis on it. So like I said, that's all there is to do in this stage. I appreciate you stopping by to watch me work on a model a little bit. Kind of cool. We've got brake lines, we've got other lines all over the place here. Got to figure out where they all go eventually. Just looking, getting sidetracked. That's, it's one of these things, squirrel, and off I go on a tangent. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified of any time I post new content. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. What are you thinking of the builds? I love comments. I respond to every one of them. If I can think about something to be witty back to you, because most people, when they do leave comments, are leaving some sort of witty comment, which sometimes makes me go back and watch my own video so I know what I said. But love to respond to comments. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a great day. Have a great day tomorrow. And I will see you in the next video.